If you're feeling stuck and overwhelmed in your business, you are going to love my special guest today. Hello and welcome to the Seven Figure Life Fulfillment Podcast, where we share strategies to help coaches and consultants grow their revenue while working less hours and build a life they actually enjoy. I'm your host, Ken Stephen, and my guest today is Sheevaun Moran. Sheevaun works with business founders who know they're meant for more, but keep hitting unseen limits in their growth and their energy and in their prosperity. She's been a featured speaker at more than 350 events, and she's the author of 17 books on success, clarity, prosperity, and mindset. Through her unique blend of business energy architecture and world-class scaling expertise, Sheevaun has helped over 25,000 people create exponential successes, doubling their revenues while improving their lives. That is exactly what Seven Figure Life Fulfillment is all about. Sheevaun, I'm so happy you could join me here today. Thank you for coming to the show today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, hey, I'm eager to get started because I'm totally intrigued by this concept of business energy architecture and how it relates to the first driver in my five business driver framework, which is mindset and vision. And, I always think of mindset and vision from a business perspective, like building a house. So it's like if you do not have a solid foundation in place, then it doesn't matter what you build on top of that foundation, your house is going to be shaky. It might eventually fall apart. And for business, I think it's the same way. Like businesses need to have a solid foundation. And for me, that's the driver of mindset and vision. And today, I'm eager to hear your approach to mindset and vision and strengthening that driver.
I'm going to use some analogies. So I'm going to start with vision. And we tend to have been taught that we have to look at ourselves and own our problems. And then we actually start diving into our problems. And then if you think of energy in terms of if you've ever taken a magnifying glass and you've had the sun beat down through the magnifying glass and burn a piece of paper, that's focused energy,
Hmm.
right? And we do this with our minds when we have a problem, right? So we're looking at an idea and we have lost our vision. So we're not looking up or ahead, we're looking down and we're actually decreating and decelerating ourselves energetically and then mentally. So we've actually lost our vision when we actually focus so much on the problem. I'll use a client story. I have a client who has a partner, and I work with the one partner and he has these other two partners, and the third partner is neutral. This other partner is, I'm going to call him David Downer. And David Downer is a driver and he's a force and he's just going to grind you down. And that has worked for him for a while. But what has happened is the planet has shifted and people are done being driven that
Mm.
way. They're done being managed that way and they're done being beaten down that way. And David Downer is only beating it down into the ground. His business, his sector of the business has gone down 30%. My client sector of the business has gone up from, it was like a $10 million company inside this other business to $150 million company. Radical difference. So the David Downer's energy is, and he's focused down and on the problem, and he's got his energy on the problem and not where they're going.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And his mind is not set, but his mind is focused on where things are not working because his energy is down toward the problem rather than, you know what, this is where we're going. This is what I'm driving toward. So he's lost his vision. And then his mind has gotten very, very ugly.
No, you're right. So that's really talking about the fact that the more you focus on things that are going wrong, the more wrong things happen. And the more you
Yeah.
focus on the outcome that you actually want
Yeah.
and place yourself in that scenario mentally,
Yeah.
then the quicker you'll get there. Is that what we're
You
talking
could
about?
be getting there quicker. If you want to get there really quick, then you need actually outside help. So the principles actually of the law of the universe are that as you have a witness, and you can see this in science, as you have a witness for energy, the energy can move more easily in the direction that you want because you have the witness. If it's not witnessed, it just kind of goes around. It's kind of fascinating to think about.
It is
I
fascinating.
mean, it's really fascinating. We put all these things together. So his mind is problematic. Focus on, we want to solve problems, but if you only want to solve problems, you will find more problems. You won't be able to have solutions, and your vision guaranteed will always falter and will always get into the darkest, ugliest place.
So how would you recommend for someone like a David Downer, what would you recommend they do to turn their mindset around?
Yeah. So, so my particular client, I said, okay, so once a week, I want you to send him a voice message that is, hey, I've been thinking about this, and here's something that my mind has been working on, and we've crafted a whole bunch of things so he can send them automatically. And this is where we're looking, this is where we're going, this is how I'm thinking about my business, and he's being abundant and upbeat and positive, and so it's kind of trying to inoculate David Downer with kind of like a probiotic, if you will. And it helps every once in a while. And then David Downer wants to go down his dastardly way. But that's one way. And then another way would be if you look at the monks that were in Tibet, all of their walls had at their vision level had a particular mantra that they had to see persistently and consistently throughout the day. So with one of my clients many years ago, he was one of the lead, he was the only lawyer in contract law in Kiewit, the bridge company. And he was having all kinds of trouble. He was staying late hours. Everything was a rockin' mess. His health was a mess. His relationship at home and with his kids and his wife everything was breaking. And I said, so we're going to do our work separately, but I need you to be able to see something kind of like these monks. And we created a whole little thing for him to put hundreds of post-it notes around his entire office. So whether his conscious brain picked it up on it or not wasn't the point. It was he was being infused with the energy and the idea and the intention consistently and persistently so that what could happen is we could get our outcome sooner. So he used to go home at 11, and we ended up getting him back home at 6 p.m. and traveling less, and contracts were getting done sooner. And they were actually able to grow the business because his end of the business was getting handled more easily.
Okay, this is really good because, again, part of what we're trying to achieve for my audience is to, increase their revenue while working less hours,
Yes,
right? Because
that.
Right, because many solopreneurs and founders end up becoming prisoners for the business they create, which is kind of ironic because they created to create more time freedom for themselves, and they end up
Yeah.
spending more time at work, right? So okay, this is great. So is this what this business energy architecture is all about? This
Yeah, so
process?
energy is always first. So if we can infuse energy, our environment with good energy, and we see this in the Asian culture, they believe in feng shui. They call it feng shui. If we do this for ourselves in some way, so like you have a plant behind you, a plant behind you is indicative of life, right? That sounds ludicrous at the simplest level, but in the reality level, our brain automatically starts looking for more life. So we give our space places and good energy that is going to help uplift us on our journey, because we need every single ounce of good positive vibes, mentality, previous environment that was working in favor. I'll give you an example. So I went to go look at a new space today, and the guy I said, well, what happened to the previous people? And he says, oh, well, the guy died. And I was like, and I'm out. I don't want that energy. I don't want death energy. And that sounds silly. it sounds like, yeah, that's really no big deal. But really, our brains can click and connect to the worst and weirdest things. And so you want to find places and spaces and create places and spaces in your own life and your business and how you operate so that your mind doesn't get trapped into, David Downer ways.
So doubling revenues and improving their lives. So how does starting with the energy idea, how does that help you double revenues? And I think you've given us a clue how it helps reclaim time, right? With
Yeah.
with the previous
Yeah.
example you gave. But right now, I think the go-to thing for clients, I mean, even when they come to me, they say, "Hey, Ken, my sales are stalled. Okay, I think we need to do something with the marketing." Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And when, we'll use my revenue growth readiness scorecard and we'll figure out, snapshot of the business shows its mindset and vision, or your offer and your business model is not firing on all cylinders. And until those are firing on all cylinders, doesn't matter how much you spend on marketing, right? But everyone thinks you have to spend more money on marketing to make more revenue. But what I hear you saying, no, no, it starts with energy, and with thinking about energy first and a mindset first can set you up so that it makes it easier to make more revenue. Am I hearing you?
Yeah. You are hearing me right. So let's just assume that we'll use Steve Jobs as a perfect example.
Hmm.
So he got kicked out of Apple. And what did he do? He sold or gave everything away in his apartment except for a Tiffany lamp and I think it was his MacBook. I don't remember which one, but it was one of them. And then he went and found Pixar. And he went and created Next, which ended up becoming Linux. And so he had space around him. He had one, and as he said, my most beautiful possession was this Tiffany lamp. And so he had beauty in his mind, right? And he lived in a space that was filled with nature and beauty, and he always went nature and beauty. So those are elements. He had an uncluttered environment, so his mind could focus on where he was going and what he needed to do next.
Hmm.
And so as he did that, and as he got married, his wife said it took them, I don't know, 5 or 7 years to get particular furniture because he wanted to keep things so uncluttered. And that allowed him freedom and place to expand his thinking, expand his mind, expand his opportunities, get creative, really deal with his internal conflicts. Dealing with your internal conflicts is one of the biggest problems. If you don't fix energetically, you will still end up in the high highs and low lows with those internal conflicts. And that's when you'll hit those financial ceilings. Those internal conflicts are going to get you to hit a financial ceiling every single time. I call them unts. Won't, wouldn't, couldn't, shouldn't, don't, can't, don't want to, shouldn't have to, on and on and on.
Yeah, I think we've all done that, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, it's inevitable. It's been in front of us all along. We're just now being smacked in the face with
Right,
it.
right. Now you've developed a new app, right? And
Yeah,
and 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 this, tell us about that app because it relates to all this, right?
it does. So, one of the things that I kept finding with clients is in between our conversations, our sessions, so to speak, they would have all of these things happening in between. And so, a lot of people in my position would let their clients text them. I'm like, no, I don't have time for that. I'm helping a lot of people. I got stuff to do. And I want to be of the highest and greatest service. And I want to keep people out of the pits and the valleys. I want them to go and do what I call peak hopping. I want them to hop from one peak. So they hit a financial peak. I want to get them to get to the next financial peak. Right. And so the app is designed from the perspective of our voices reveal all of the things. It's really wild. Science proves it. Our voices reveal all of the things of places where we're stuck mentally, neurologically, emotionally, in a resonance. Everybody, a lot of people call this frequency. whatever, it's waves, frequency. It's basically our human music that is coming from our voice has a particular signature, and it reveals places where we are stuck, where we're not stuck. And so our app actually analyzes this. You speak for 2 minutes, it analyzes what your instrument is doing, and it gives you instant remedies, and then it gives you something to think about, and then some action steps to take, and then it gives you something to listen to get yourself back in tune, like you would a guitar or piano, back in tune with an upward trending, unique you. And then you do this over the day in and day out basis, and you stay out of that pit much more easily. And so business owners are using it for themselves. And then we've got a couple who are using it for their staff. So they can see where their staff is down in the pits, and they can actually say, hey, is there something that, do you need a day off? Are there some tools we need to give you? How can we support you?
Wow. Okay. So I can imagine people who are hearing this for the first time right now, and
Yeah,
they're probably saying, this sounds really woo-woo, really crazy. I don't
totally.
know. I mean, is this science backed? Is this
Yeah,
something that, yeah, you kind of made it up? So help people understand that this really this is science
yeah,
backed proven stuff, and you should really be
yeah.
trying this.
Yeah. So MIT has been studying this for, I guess, the past 5 years. Stanford has been studying it for about 30 years. And then Boston University has been studying it for about 40 years. And what they've been trying to do is they've been trying to figure out how to interpret what's happening. Well, because I deal in energy and I think from a perspective of energy and frequency, they're thinking from, a device. We don't need a device. We have the most amazing device right here, right? We just now have to learn to interpret what it's doing and to actually use and access a remedy that is going to get us out of the problem rather than just only pills or, meditation's nice. I mean, gosh, I've written books about it, but at the end of the day, not everybody wants to meditate, and that's cool. And at the end of the day, people just want better and they want to get their business working. And I wanted to strip away all of the woo. And this is pure science.
Okay. Okay. So pure science, and it's all based basically on frequencies, right?
It's all frequency. And if you think of your being as a frequency, so voice and singers, right? They are frequency based, right? I actually got a session from the guy who coached Margaret Thatcher.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I said, so I have this really bizarre idea. And I just want you to work with me for a second, and then I'll tell you the idea. So we met a second time. He gave me this remedy, for my voice. And he said, well, let me tell you about some of the people I worked with. I was like, oh, I didn't know you helped Margaret Thatcher become Margaret Thatcher because of her voice, because of the frequency of her voice. And so he started telling me this after I explained the app idea. And he says, you don't understand how important it is for people to know how to shift their frequency so that their voice is revealing a truth that they really want to share, and not the truth that is based on fear or worry or anxiety or tension or stress or trauma or drama or whatever has constriction. And so we had this very long discussion, and he said, you're on to something in that we each have something that needs to be unlocked in the frequency of our voice in order to get to the results and the rewards that we want.
So this new app, really, this is like a diagnostic tool that you can
Yes,
tap it into whenever you want, just to get a snapshot of where your body is at right now,
yes,
and whether or not it's going to be supporting your efforts, no matter what it is you're trying to accomplish.
yes.
Wow, this is very amazing stuff. This is like my revenue growth readiness scorecard for business snapshot on whether or not you're good for revenue growth. This is a really amazing idea and is
Thanks.
backed by science. So
Yeah.
please, you must tell me and my listeners, how do you find out more about this?
Thanks, Ken. So go to app.my and then yangu.com.
Perfect. I'm going to put that in the show notes below. Sheevaun, I thank you so much for sharing your insights today. There's some mind-blowing stuff here. I'm definitely going to check out that app myself, and I encourage everybody else to check out that app. And Sheevaun, thanks again for being such a great guest.
Oh gosh, thanks for having me.
All right. Everyone, we'll see you soon on the next episode of the 7-Figure Life Fulfillment Podcast. Bye for now.